Hi, my name is Courtney, and today my persuasive speech is going to be over why I think zoos should be banned. Before we get started, this is our audience. Coach Dean, our softball manager Abby, and Coach Jones. Okay. Have you ever thought about being taken away from your home without an option and forcibly adapted to live in the environment that you weren't created to live in? Of course not, because to humans that would be inhumane, but for animals, this happens around the world daily. People do not typically think of a zoo as a dangerous place for animals, but more like a safe haven. But when animals are taken out of their natural habitat or born into captivity, they're limited to their capabilities and their natural tendencies that they're supposed to fulfill in the wild. Animals are taken away from their homes and forced to live in zoos solely for the purpose of human pleasure, so that we can just see these exotic animals that we would never get to see otherwise. We enjoy being able to see these exotic animals because it makes us feel more fortunate, but what about the animals? Do you think they feel fortunate being locked up in small enclosures just for our benefit? I would think not. By informing you what really goes on behind zoo bars, I would hope you think twice next time you go to a zoo to pay to see animals being forced to live somewhere that they don't belong. During this speech, I will be talking about the real dangers that lie behind zoos of America and how we can work together to abolish these unnatural acts of humanity. Let us start off with the main obvious problem with zoos and their inhumane and not natural habitats for animals. The opposing view to my speech is that everybody thinks that zoos are a safe place for animals to reside and that they are happy and taken care of better than they would in the wild. However, my view is that the zoo is a horrible place for animals to live because it is too small of a space, the animals are not properly taken care of, and breeding and immature death usually occur in all zoos. Overall, I'm not saying that keeping animals in captivity for a long period of time is cruel. I'm just saying that there is a better way to rehabilitate them in safe places like sanctuaries and animal reserves where they can get the best care and protection. According to the Animal Welfare Act, the animals must have sanitary conditions, sufficient enclosures, proper vet care, appropriate feed, and stuff like that. According to a study done by PETA, animals suffer mentally and physically 50% more than they would in the wild. According to the Wall Street Journal report in 2003, nearly half of the country's zoos are facing cutbacks this year, and precious funds that they should be using on more humane conditions are spent on refreshment stands, gift shops, landscaping, and other such things to draw in visitors. A CAP study found that 75,000 animals and possibly 200,000 in Europe's zoos are a surplus of animals at one time, which means like they're extra animals, so they just kill them off because they don't have any more room for them. According to some online research, here are some of the many reasons why I believe zoos should be banned all over the country. A zoo is no place for an animal to live because it is harmful to them and their natural abilities. According to the Captive Animals Protection Service, zoos are horrible places for animals because they cannot provide sufficient space, their lifespans are cut in half, surplus of animals are killed, they breed to captivate, not reintroduce, and a lot of workers do not know enough about the animals to take care of them. Another reason why zoos should be banned is because there is a better alternative for them, such as nature reserves or animal reservations, which is trying to save them just like we are. Sanctuaries are a better place to rehabilitate animals and to keep them in temporary captivity because space is more abundant there. Breeding in sanctuaries is usually prohibited and they don't transfer their animals or trade them to circuses. Sanctuaries protect abused and neglected animals, and individual interaction with animals is always available. An animal should never be forced to live in a place that they are not meant to be and forced to adapt to live there. They deserve to be treated as equal as humans because they are animals just like we are, so it's not fair for us to treat them as if they don't have a choice to be happy. Exotic animals are rare, and so why should we shorten their lifespans just so that we can have the the ability to see them in their unnatural habitats. Next time you go to a zoo and think about how lucky those animals are because they're so exotic, think about how it feels to live in a place 100 times smaller than what you're meant to be in. Animals deserve the freedom they were given in the wild, not to be forced into captivity and to take away their God-given right to be wild animals.